Angels, iHeartRadio, Fox Sports Radio, FS1. Peter King, three-time National Sports Writer of the Year, Sports Illustrated, mmqb.com. My guy on a Tuesday will be joining us in about 3-4 minutes. Let me start with this. Boston last night, the Celtics and the Patriots now have the two best coaches in American professional sports, at least in terms of getting the most out of their players and translating it to victories. What Brad Stevens did last night is remarkable. They didn't have Kyrie Irving, Gordon Hayward, Jaylen Brown. Marcus Smart still banged up. And Terry Rozier was the best player on the floor. Brad Stevens has become Belichick. Where you ask yourself, why didn't I watch Chris Hogan before New England? LeGarrette Blount's only good in New England. Matt Castle won 11 games in New England. The great coaches maximize a player's talent. I'm telling you, what Brad Stevens is doing in Boston is unbelievable. They're going to beat Philadelphia. And can I just say this about Philadelphia? We're all human beings here. You know, I'm not objective about my kids. I'm in love with my kids, obviously. All parents are. I can't see straight. At 7 years old, my son's going to be president. And then by 12, I realize, hopefully he's president of a company. And then by 18, I'm praying he's president maybe of a fraternity. And at 24, I realize, hey, he's my kid. I'm not really objective. Like, that's the way it works, right? It's the same way with our teams. When you love them, you're not objective. Philadelphia's fun. They're going to be great. They got a term called, even their tanking was interesting. It was called the process. 4 reasons, though, we may want to pump the brakes a little on this Philadelphia thing. Number one is Joel Embiid played only 35 minutes last night. He got banged up again. Listen, we have a history. Big guys get hurt early. They get hurt often. We have a history of Embiid getting hurt. He's wearing a face mask, for crying out loud, and having to adjust it at the free throw line. Like, there are times that I watch him and I think he's taken possessions off. I think he knows his body has limitations. He played the fewest minutes per game of any star in the league, about 31. I like Embiid a lot, but we got a history. Pump the brakes. Number 2, Markelle Fultz looks like a bust. You do realize Markelle Fultz is available to play, and they're not playing him. They're playing T.J. McConnell. Okay, Markelle Fultz is ready to play, and Philadelphia, which could use a shooter, is not playing him. Boston, none of their draft picks have been busts, the good ones. Markelle Fultz could be a bust. That's a wasted pick. That could be a problem. Trying to beat Boston, can't have any of those. Number 3 is, what do we know about Philadelphia? What? They beat the Miami Heat and 47-year-old D. Wade, a rebuilding Miami Heat, in an arena on the road, which about 60% of the people show up late. They ain't showing up late in Boston. The winning streak at the end of the year for the Sixers was 16 games, and it was mostly the dregs of the NBA. What do we know about Philadelphia? They were tanking last year. How good are they? It's the East. They beat Miami. They had a long winning streak against bad Eastern teams. What do we know? And the 4th reason is, and I think this will go away by next year, Ben Simmons can't hit a free throw. It would be one thing if he was a Shaq or he was a Dwight Howard and you could take him out. He's your point guard. He can't shoot. Now, I can live with him not being a great three-point shooter. I can. He'll attract those. I can live with him as a rookie not being a great perimeter shooter, period. I can't live with my point guard in the playoffs shooting 54% at the free throw line because he's got the ball with 3 minutes left. So you got 4 reasons here. I think we need to just slow down. Joel Embiid's injury history. Markelle Fultz could be a bust. What do we really know about Philadelphia? And Ben Simmons, their guard, can't hit free throws. Here's a guy who I presume could via the Coward Global Satellite Network. Peter King. I thought it was pretty interesting. You are in the access business, and then you contextualize your access. And Alonzo Highsmith, former great player, certainly in college, is now in the Cleveland Browns front office. And he gave real access yesterday with a quote about Baker Mayfield and why they chose him. And I want you to kind of extrapolate on that, why they took him. And I thought it was really interesting. Fire away, Peter.
Well, look, I think Alonzo Highsmith basically was voicing what an awful lot of people in the organization felt, which clearly was one way, and that is after they went and saw Baker Mayfield in Norman, Oklahoma on March 22nd, they were convinced he was going to be their guy. And I think there's two things. Number one, as Highsmith said, the highest compliment he can pay to anybody is that you could have played on my team at the U. You know,
right.
He played at the University of Miami, and his whole point was you've got that way around you. You've got that glint in your eye. You make people follow you. And so that's one of the reasons why the Browns were so taken with him. And not only that, but he's clearly the most accurate downfield passer, even though he's only 6 feet 5/8 tall. He's the most accurate downfield passer of anybody in this draft, and it's not even close. So I think people who view him as sort of this little system dink and dunk guy have not watched the tape.
When you looked at the draft, it did very well on Fox and ESPN and the NFL Network. There were a lot of trades, and New York was up top, and a couple of California, LA quarterbacks, and it was a very intriguing draft. What did you make of what Arizona did? Steve Keim, he admitted that early in the week before the draft, he was getting nervous, like they needed a quarterback. What did you make of Arizona's trade?
Well, Arizona, I had in my mock draft trading up from 15 to 5 to get Baker Mayfield. They loved Mayfield, and then, clearly nobody was going to get Mayfield from the Cleveland Browns. Not them, not the Patriots, not anybody. So then I think Arizona basically said, hey, listen, if we can make a reasonable trade to try to go get Rosen, we're going to do it. It's amazing to me that all it cost them to move up to get their quarterback of the future, presumably, was the 79th and 152nd
I know.
picks.
That's amazing.
Last year when the Texans and Chiefs moved up to get their guys, in each case, it took at least a first-round pick in 2018. So I think that, you've got to give credit to the Cardinals. But at the end of the day, also, I think the Raiders guy was McGlinchey. He got picked right before them, and so they wanted to tackle their number 2 guy, Colton Miller. They weren't going to be able to get good value at number 10, so why not trade down, even though the value is probably not just for the 10th pick going down to 15.
It's I was talking about to start this hour about if, I'm not objective about my kids because I love my kids. So obviously I see the worldview of my kids different than my neighbor would be or their teachers. Eli Manning has won the city of New York 2 Super Bowls. But here's a number I can't get past. Eli Manning in the last 5 years against 500 teams or better is 11-37. The Browns are worse, and one other team. That's bad, Peter. And those are not all playoff teams. Okay, yet they had the second pick, could have gotten multiple players, and they passed, and Pat Shurmur said, Eli still got it. Are we saying that, because the numbers don't bear it out, Peter, that Eli still got it? What do you believe truly about Eli Manning, who was 11-37 in 5 years against just 500 teams or better? Does he still have it?
Among quarterbacks who've been starters since the last time the Giants won that Super Bowl, February 2012, Eli Manning's the lowest rated quarterback in football.
Wow.
And so, look, he has not played well. No one can make the case that he's played well. You can make the case that he's had a poor supporting cast, particularly on the offensive line. And that's true. But be that as it may, he's played poorly. So Pat Shurmur and Dave Gettleman, I think, look at their team and say, if we put a supporting cast around him that's going to take the attention away from a lot of these blitzes and going to put the attention a little bit more on Saquon Barkley, potentially great running back, and on our tight end, Evan Engram, on the short and intermediate passes, that's really going to improve Eli Manning. Also, I think Manning's completion percentage goes way up this year. I think he'll complete 80 balls to Saquon Barkley. So those things, they hope, are going to give him the ability to be good. And if you look at Saquon Barkley, there's no way in the world that you're going to be able to not pay extra attention to this guy. So he's a very good receiver out of the backfield. And I think it's a gamble by the Giants that over the next 2 years, they can go deep in the playoffs with Eli and this great offensive supporting cast.
So Tom Brady yesterday was at one of these symposiums where a bunch of smart people pay money and watch Tom Brady speak. And there was a moment when Jim Gray asked him, I want to play this bite, and so you can just hear the sound of it. I thought it was kind of entertaining, but here's what Brady said at the symposium with Jim Gray last night.
Do you feel appreciated by them, and do they have the appropriate gratitude for what you have achieved?
I plead the fifth. Look, man, that is a tough question. Yeah, I mean,
your wife seems to indicate.
I think everybody in general wants to be appreciated more at work.
Are you happy?
I have my moments.
Okay, Peter, what do you make of that? I think most people, I'm not happy every minute of my life, and I have a great life. I mean, what do you make of that?
I thought it was really interesting, and I thought for a Patriots fan, it would have given me a sick feeling in the pit of my stomach because it just would have, because, Brady has never said anything like that publicly. And so when he says, basically, I plead the fifth, it means, yeah, I am not appreciated. I'm underappreciated by the people who I work for. And so I think that's, to me, when I heard that, and again, all I can do is say what I think when I heard that. I'm not in Tom Brady's head. I haven't talked to Brady about this. But when I heard that, I said he's talking about Bill Belichick.
Yeah.
And so that's what I think he's doing. Now, Brady is the kind of guy, he's an employee. He wants to be coached. He wants to be coached hard. And so to me, I don't think this is going to show up on July 28th when he goes into practice. He's going to practice hard. He's going to have the same ethos that he's always had. But I think Jim Gray got him at a moment where, that's about as close to the truth as you're going to hear out of Tom Brady.
Finally, there are reports that Gruden and Reggie McKenzie, and I like McKenzie, I think he's done a really good job rebuilding this franchise, that Gruden's kind of overpowering now and getting what he wants. Now, we saw dysfunction years ago in the last 10 years of Al Davis's life. Do you believe, is the Raider thing, their draft was a little odd to me. Do you think we're going into once again, a kind of a dysfunctional time for the Raiders with Gruden and a 10-year contract and all that money and all that power and all that leverage and a GM who doesn't want to be his valet? What do you make of their draft and going forward?
What I made of their draft is that this is a team that, in the first 3 rounds, they took 2 offensive tackles and they traded for a receiver who's entering his last year, and he's been a big headache in Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
But he's a big weapon, too. I think if Jordy Nelson is healthy, I think that's going to be a very, very interesting receiver group. But now you look at this offseason, and you look at what the Raiders have done in free agency and the draft. They're 3 big players in the draft, all offense.
Yep.
They go into free agency, and they really spend high on Jordy Nelson. John Gruden's whole thing always has been, I'm going to fix my offense, and we'll take care of the defense. And that was a message, I think, to Paul Gunther, his defensive coordinator.
Yep.
I'm counting on you to fix the defense. That's not my job. You fix the defense. So that's what I think we're going to see with the Raiders. A guy like Gruden who desperately wants, to tweak the offense and get it better, and to not ignore the defense, but really to treat it not nearly as important as the offense.
Peter King, mmqb.com. Great talking to you, Peter. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks, Colin.
Do you shower? Do you brush your teeth? Do you need the gels? Do you need all those things in the bathroom? And wouldn't it be great if you could all get them from one place? The shower gel, the toothpaste, the shampoo. Wouldn't it be great, the hair gel you need? Well, I do. It's called Dollar Shave Club. Delivers everything you need, and you don't have to go to 3 retailers. You use Dollar Shave Club. Body cleanser, use it. Shampoo, use it. All their products are made with top-shelf ingredients. Shipping's free, by the way, with your membership. Here's a great way to try a bunch of their products. For just $5, Get the Daily Essential Starter Set. One Wipe Charlie's Body Cleansers, world famous shave butter, best razor, the 6-blade executive. Keep the blades coming after that, a few bucks a month. Add in the shampoo and toothpaste, anything else you need. DollarShaveClub.com/COLIN, DollarShaveClub.com/Colin.
Real Madrid, Bayern Munich, Roma, Liverpool, UEFA Champions League semifinal.